Good morning and welcome to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I am located at 1563 Main Street in Peckville, Pennsylvania, and I am right here on this station every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. to bring you, the Pennsylvania landowner, the valuable information that you need regarding natural gas development. And in case you are not aware, I, Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm, have not, do not, and will not represent oil or gas companies. I represent Pennsylvania landowners, property owners, oil and gas right owners. Never have represented the company, never, ever will. Nope, I represent the Pennsylvania landowner, gas right owner for such items as oil and gas lease negotiations, pipeline agreement negotiations, reviews and consultations of gas leases, pipeline agreements, any and all oil and gas agreements, consultations, royalty deduction issues, breach of contract issues, litigation issues, unitization issues, buying and selling oil and gas rights, surface use agreements, well pad agreements, compressor, meter site, water lines. Again, any and all matters related to oil and natural gas development here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So if you're looking for landowner information, you're looking for landowner representation, give us a call here at the Clark Law Firm, 570-307-0702. I have clients and represented clients all across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and across the country and even in other countries who have property and gas rights in Pennsylvania. So I encourage you guys, do not be discouraged if you're not located close to the office. I have clients at all corners of Pennsylvania. Well, maybe not the Philadelphia corner, but Washington County, Greene County, Wayne County, active now, Susquehanna, Bradford, Lycoming, Tioga, Potter, Westmoreland, Allegheny, and so on and so on and so on. And there are many, many more that I have represented and continue to represent at this time. So, okay, I want to talk today about some lease issues, some oil and gas lease issues. If you listen regularly, you'll hear me say that in 2017, there's been a pickup in leasing. Been getting more and more calls from landowners, property owners, gas right owners who have leasing opportunities. Also, I should have said before, I represent people for oil and gas lease amendments and modifications. I have been getting more calls from landowners who company wants to amend or modify their existing oil and gas lease or secure a top lease for their existing oil and gas lease, meaning a lease that will take effect only after the current lease expires. Those create a lot of other issues. If you are presented with an oil and gas lease amendment and modification, you should be seeking experienced oil and gas counsel. Love to hear from you, but whether you call me or call someone else, experienced, knowledgeable counsel, because we're seeing more and more amendments and modifications, extensions of leases because the companies haven't drilled. There are a lot of potential opportunities here where landowners are relying on the company landman when they shouldn't be, because the landman works for the company, not you, the land owner. So why would you rely on the other side to educate you and inform you of what your rights are, what leverage you may have, what negotiation ability you may have? And in fact, true quick little story just happened this past week. Landowner given an offer ends up in the range of, say, around $100,000, gives us a call. says, wait a second, let's assess this leverage. And the number I think that they're ultimately going to sign for is probably double what the number was before they called. Again, doesn't happen all the time, but happens a lot more than you may think. So the critical part is to get the information, assess your leverage, understand your rights and the power you have to negotiate, and then maximize that position and do the best you can for you, your family, your kids, and future generations, and your property. So don't, and you think, well, what do I need a lawyer? And it's funny because in this case, the landman said, you don't need to call a lawyer. You don't need to call a lawyer. They'll just slow things up. Well, didn't slow anything up, and probably looks like very close to agreeing to an extra $100,000. So we have to make sure we're not giving up on those opportunities when they arise. So whether you call me, I'd love to hear from you, Doug Clark, 570-307-0702, or call someone who knows what they're doing. I have been getting more and more calls, unfortunately, from people that I'm hearing from way after the fact that maybe they were upset about the prior representation, upset about what they signed, and unfortunately, in some of these cases, something might have been able to be done, but they just simply called too late. Call first, learn about what we do, learn, if nothing else, about a review and consultation, because that can be the tool. And in this case with these guys, they called, did a review and consultation, and said, hey, look, you really have a neat opportunity here that I think you can take advantage of and get yourself significantly higher compensation for this agreement that's offered. We then explain it, understand it, and landowner says, hey, let's go ahead and do it. And within a week or two, looks like that they're going to double the highest offer that they had, which was a 6-figure offer to begin with. So things like that, and it just, it kills me. It really does, because it doesn't happen every time. It doesn't happen every time. But again, it happens way more than what you think. And for the price and the time of a review and consultation to assess your situation, like I say, we get outstanding feedbacks on these things. It's really, I think, it's a good decision, because for these guys, had they not done it and relied on the company landman saying, you don't need a lawyer here, here's a pen, go ahead and sign, they would have received, it looks like, we're in the process of finalizing it, but about $100,000 less. And I'm going to tell you, their legal bill, not real big. And that's where we're here. We want to make sure that we're putting money into your pocket, that we're maximizing your opportunities. Just like I say all the time, it's such a gift in representing the clients that I represent, because it's like representing my father, who is a steel worker and a farmer, and my grandfather, the same thing. That's the people that we have the opportunity to help, and we want to help you. So, look, learn about what we do. Go check out pipelineattorney.com. Check out pagasleaseattorney.com. Give us a call, 570-307-0702. Learn what we do and see if we can help you, and check out reviews and consultations. Generally an hour or two a time, do them by the telephone all the time. And I'm telling you, it's been a great resource. Did a few of them this past week. I do them every week. Great resource. Take advantage of it. And of course, tune in every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. right here in this station for All Things Marcellus. Been doing the show since August of 2010. So we're going to keep doing it. So go tune in. Make sure you join us. And if you can't join us, check out pagasleaseattorney.com and pipelineattorney.com. We put up each week's show. We have a whole segment on the websites dedicated to All Things Marcellus, the radio show. So check it out, and you can listen to prior shows if you can't tune in every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. So, okay, today I'm going to talk about some gas lease language. And of course, look, we're always looking to be relevant. This is a lease that I reviewed in a consultation and review this past week. I've reviewed this lease before. This particular lease is a lease form that is being offered and happens to be Potter County, Pennsylvania. But again, as I often say, Don't get bogged down on, well, this is not my county, this is not my township, this is not my company. We can learn from everything. We're going to learn from each and every lease. Every lease review that I do, I learn something. Every time I communicate with clients, I learn something. So we're constantly filling up our databases with information that we can then use when the time comes, when we're presented with an agreement or an issue arises or we're in negotiations. We want to make sure that we're raising the bar of education and information across the board. So in this case, this lease relates to, or was offered to, a landowner in Potter County, Pennsylvania. So one of the things, and I apologize, I didn't want to start with this, but it happens to be the first thing I have highlighted, and I have this code of colors where if it's highlighted in pink, it means it's pretty important, and it also in this case means something I want to talk about on the radio show, and in this case, it is royalty and royalty language, and I only kind of laugh a little bit because I talk a lot about royalty and royalty language and deductions, but unfortunately, we need to because I say that these companies are smart, they evolve, they adjust, cases come out, legal developments occur, new legal cases are decided in oil and gas related issues, and companies then adjust. They adjust to their benefit, not to yours. They don't say, oh, hey, there's a great landowner ruling that a court came down with in Pennsylvania or even another state. Let's adjust our leases to make sure that the landowner gets the most benefit of this ruling. Well, unfortunately, they don't do that. What they do is they say, hey, this landowner-friendly ruling just came out in Pennsylvania, so let's adjust our lease to minimize the positive result for the landowner or eliminate the positive result for the landowner. So if a court ruling comes out and says that you cannot, that certain language means that you can't take deductions, well, then we better make sure as a company we're not using that language. So companies will adjust their lease forms, they'll adjust their addendum language in a way to minimize, to eliminate any benefit that you may receive as a gas right or landowner as a result of a friendly ruling to you by the courts. So again, if the court says, hey, you can't do something, or if you do this, it's going to benefit the landowner, the company will change to make sure that they don't have to deal with that again in the future. And look, that's business. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why you also need, hopefully have, someone who's familiar with these developments that can understand this as well and is fighting and working to get you the benefit that you may receive as a result of a positive ruling, or from your side to try to minimize the detriment or the negative result of a ruling that benefits the company. So we need to be looking at that. And I'm seeing a lot now with these new leases, creative royalty calculation wording in language, and the end result is designed in almost all cases. The end result is designed to make sure that the company is going to maintain as much of the proceeds as possible from selling your gas that's produced. They want to make sure they're getting the biggest share of that money possible, and you're getting the lowest amount, the smallest share of that money that's possible. That's the goal. Well, that's my opinion, and I think that my experiences have proven that out, but that's my opinion. And when we get back after this first break, I'm going to go over this royalty language, which very interestingly, as it was presented to the landowner, and I have the letter here from the company Landman, who is working for the company that they send to the landowner, saying to the landowner that enclosed, please find please find a lease which provides for you one of my favorites, 12.5% lowest royalty allowed by law, gross royalty on production. Gross royalty on production. We want gross royalty, but I'm going to tell you, we don't want this gross royalty. And I'll explain what I mean when I get back after this break. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'm here with you every single Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. right here on this station. Remember, give us a call, learn about what we do, find out about representation, reviews, and consultations, 570-307-0702. 570-307-0702. I'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember to join me right here on this station every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. where I will bring you the landowner, the information that you need regarding natural gas development. And remember, you can always contact the office at 570-307-0702. Okay, let's jump into this here. So what we have here, we're going to talk about a little bit now is, and I see this a lot. I see it a lot where landmen communicate, landmen, by the way, work for the company, not you, the landowner, communicate with the landowner and the gas right owner, and they explain to them how they are going to have a gross or no deduction royalty lease. And I see it more and more because landowners have become more savvy and more sophisticated and understand that royalties without deductions for post-production costs are a thing, an item that should be a very high priority. Now, many times you cannot obtain that, but you should always use that as your starting point to say that when you, company, are calculating how I'm going to be receiving royalty payments, you are not going to calculate these royalties by using deductions for your pipeline, transportation, and gathering fees. So we want to eliminate that. Now, another thing I talk about a lot is affiliated sales, and boy, do we want to try to address that as well. That meaning that the operator, the company that is drilling the hole, getting the gas out of the ground, but it doesn't actually, it could be anyone paying a royalty, any company, that they're getting the gas, and when it comes to the surface and it's at the wellhead, they sell it to themselves. And what I mean by that is they sell it to an affiliated company, which they own, and then they value that gas at the price they sell it to themselves at. So we need to be careful because they may sell it to themselves at a bit of a discount as to what they could get at the open market. That should raise red flags for you as the landowner. So if you listen to the show and you're talking to a landman about leasing, ask them about affiliated sales. I truly believe that many of the landmen don't understand this and how it operates, but maybe some do. But ask them, because I haven't seen a landman say, yes, well, this lease allows us to sell it to ourselves or the company to sell it to themselves and then pay you that price, not the price that the company could have obtained in an open market. Also, it would, in most cases, allow the company to sell it to themselves. And then another way that they could set the royalty, which is a nice selling point, it sounds good to the landowner, is to say, well, we don't want to cheat you by having affiliated sales and having a really low sell price from which your royalties are calculated. So what we'll do is we will use a local, what's called an index price, a local average price. Well, in my experience, that's not what you want. What you would ideally want is you want a price that the gas is sold to a legitimate third-party buyer, not an index price and not the price that the company obtains when they sell it to their wholly owned affiliated company. No, If you sell it to your affiliated company at the wellhead, and that affiliated company then takes that gas to market and sells it at the local hub point, we would want the price that that affiliated company sells the gas for at the local hub point to a third unrelated party. We don't want the index price. We want the sales price to the third party, which is not related to the original company or the company's affiliate. That's what we want. Ask that question to the landman and see how they respond to that. If they understand what these companies are doing, and what I'm seeing as more of a trend, or what I'm even predicting as more of a trend, as I see language changing within the leases that are being offered to the landowners. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Make sure you join me every single Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. right here in this station for the information that you need from the landowner's side. Also, if you're not able to tune in every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m., remember, check out the websites. We index and update and post the radio show. Each Sunday's show is available on Monday morning on the websites at pagasleaseattorney.com and pipelineattorney.com. So if you are unable to tune in each and every Sunday, you can go to pagasleaseattorney.com. You can go to pipelineattorney.com, check out that week's show, and all of the other very valuable, in my opinion, information available on the websites, pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. So, okay, I got sidetracked a bit on the affiliated sales because it's such an important issue and it's such a trending issue that I'm seeing, and I really strongly anticipate we're going to see a lot more of it. And it can be, why are we going to see it? Because it can be a very effective tool to be used by the gas companies to pay, quite simply, to pay the landowner less royalties and for the companies to pocket more royalties. So we need to be very wary about this trending issue, which is affecting and will affect a lot of people moving forward, and we're already seeing it affect easily over 10,000 landowners that I'm aware of. All right, so I'm going to move from the affiliated sales, but not too far. We're going to talk about this whole gross royalty without deductions. And this is the kind of thing that really burns me. You've heard me talk a lot about their headings and saying, oh, here's a royalty without deductions. Here's royalty, no deductions. They put that on the heading of the addendum term, and then they give you language beneath that, which you get excited about because you say, hey, I want royalties without deductions. And look, right here is a heading that says royalty without deductions. Well, in this case here that I'm going to talk about, and that happens all the time. I've done several shows on that subject alone, or primarily on that subject. But then here's something else that's popped up here. And I mean, within the last month, but this isn't the first time. But in this case, the person, the landman, writes a letter to the landowner. And in that letter, it sets forth that they're going to give the bonus consideration of a certain amount of money. And then it says the lease provides for a 12.5% royalty. Again, oh boy, again, please be wary of 12.5% royalty because it's the lowest allowed by state law. I really question whether a company offering 12.5% royalty as an open lease when they're not developing all around your property, when your property is not about to be placed into a unit, whether that royalty rate would go up in the future. Because we know this, it cannot get worse. And I've seen in most of the leases, and by I mean most, the vast majority of leases in the last several years have been, that I've worked on and that I've seen, have been 15% or more. So when you're signing or thinking about signing for the state minimum of 12.5%, be careful. I would recommend you consider a lease review here at the office, but be careful. I do not specific advice to anyone, but boy, I do not like 12.5% royalty. But hey, if you said, well, I'm going to get 12.5% royalty, but here's this letter saying that this lease enclosed with this letter gives me 12.5% royalty, which I really don't like, but it's a gross royalty on production. Well, then the question becomes, what exactly does that mean? And I'm going to tell you that gross royalty on production means what the company wants it to mean. And they can present it to you so you have a certain thought as to what that language means. But then when you start getting royalties, your idea and your thoughts and perception as to what that language was going to mean and how, or what it did mean, and how your royalties would be calculated, you may find painfully that was a wrong perception. And now you have a lease with 12.5% royalty, the lowest royalty allowed by law in Pennsylvania, and you have what you thought was gross royalty when actuality you're getting wellhead royalty. Again, we ideally do not want wellhead royalty. We want royalty calculated at the sale point whenever your gas is sold from your operating company or their affiliate to a third party, an unrelated party. That's what we want. When that gas goes to the interstate pipeline and it's sold, that's the price we want. We don't want subtractions or deductions for pipeline and other costs to transport that gas to the interstate pipeline. We want the interstate pipeline price from a sale to an unrelated third party, not the local index price. We want the sale price of your gas, not the index, but your gas. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So, okay, get this cover letter, says gross royalty. Let's look and read and see what the royalty language is. Well, this royalty language says that the company is going to pay, I'm going to paraphrase some of this and we'll quote here at the end, 12.5% of the proceeds realized. Proceeds realized, revenue realized. Be careful for that word, realized. Realized. That means, what are you putting in your pocket? That is an indicator that you're probably looking at some deduction language following that, or that is in and of itself deduction language. If you look at a form gas lease with no addendum, but the form of the lease, you're probably going to find that word realized in almost all of the leases. So when you have a lease and it says we're going to pay you gross royalties, but then the language says proceeds realized, then you need to be very, very careful that this lease may not mean what you think it means or what you're told by the landman who works for the company, not you, the landowner, what actually the language means and how your royalties will be calculated. So it goes on. After stating that you're going to receive 12.5% of proceeds realized, there's a section which, again, labeled no post-production costs. And under that section, it says there shall be no deductions from the royalty payments described above for any cost of production, including exploring or surveying the leased premises for oil and gas, installing, drilling, completing, equipping, and producing a well. Well, let me tell you, they're not allowed to do that anyway. But interestingly, they put that right up front. So hopefully you're paying a lot of attention to that. Then here comes the second sentence. Nor for the cost of gathering, transporting, separating, dehydrating, treating, compressing, or otherwise making the oil or gas ready for sale or use. Again, ready for sale or use. Some companies determine that gas, or their position is that gas is, quote, ready for sale or use, end quote, at the well head, when the gas comes out of the ground. So that means that there is no deductions in order to make the gas ready for seller use, but the gas is ready for seller use the moment it hits the surface of the earth. So therefore, that's the place, that's the spot, that's the point in which your royalties are calculated. So if that gas is sold from the producing company to its affiliate at the wellhead, well, there's a good chance that that's the price your royalty is going to be calculated. And again, that is not what you want. Now, let's say we're lucky. Let's say that they don't sell it to themselves at a discount at the wellhead, and they actually transport the gas to the interstate pipeline connection point and sell it there. Well, what are they going to do? Well, if they sell it there for $3, they're going to what's called net back or deduct the transportation, gathering, pipeline fees, compression from the from the sell point back to the wellhead point. So if they sold it for $3 and your share of deductions is $1, you will see that your royalties will not be based on the sell of gas at $3. They will be based on $2 gas. And you say, well, wait a second. What are you talking about? This lease right here, it says no deductions for post-production costs. And it says there's no deductions for gathering, transporting, separating, treating, dehydrating, compressing, or otherwise making the oil or gas ready for seller use, so they can't take deductions. Well, they say, well, landowner, gas right owner, we're not taking deductions. We're just not giving you the benefit of the enhancements that we've made to the gas. And they call the enhancements the movement of the gas from the wellhead to the point where it's sold. So we would call those deductions. They would say, no, you're not having deductions taken. We're just not giving you the benefit of the enhancement of the gas, meaning $1 in transportation fees and fees that you'd be responsible or that we're incurring on your behalf. We're just not giving you that benefit, which what it means is instead of your royalties being calculated at $3 gas at the sell point, we would say you're giving us $2 gas at the wellhead, and we're calling those deductions, that $1 of fees between the wellhead and the point of sale. We say $3 back to $2, you're subtracting or deducting $1 in cost. The companies say, no. We're only doing that net back or subtraction to determine what the wellhead price is. And you're only entitled to the wellhead price because that's when gas is ready for seller use. So we are giving you gross royalty. We're giving you gross royalty the moment it comes out of the ground, not gross royalty of what we tend to think on the landowner side, that being whatever you sell the gas for at the interstate pipeline connection point. That's the price that we receive royalties on. I know this gets a bit complicated. I'm going to try to clean it up some here in the next segment and also talk about how some companies have a different opinion. But we have to be aware of who we're dealing with and the fact that these leases are assigned and transferred all the time. And you may have a company today that might not take deductions with this language, but tomorrow you may have a company that takes a whole different position. And also, you may find that part of your lease is assigned to another company and you're getting royalty checks from two or more companies, and one is taking deductions and one isn't. So we'll talk about that too. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can join me right here every single Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. And remember, if you have pipeline agreements, gas lease, amendments, modifications, multi-unit well amendments, and requests for signing of documentation, give us a call. Reviews, consultations, representation, any other issue, breaches, unitization issues, royalty issues, call the Clark Law Firm today, 570-307-0702. I'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Make sure you join me right here on this station every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. And if you have any offer, contract, breach of contract issue, royalty issue, unitization issue, give us a call. Reviews, consultations, much more detailed representation, buying, selling oil and gas rights, 570-307-0702. And remember, I have not, do not, and will not represent pipeline or gas companies. I represent Pennsylvania landowners and gas right owners. Okay, I want to try to clean this up a bit, make it so we can all understand, because it does get complicated. So any landowner who is being offered, or a gas right owner who's being offered an oil and gas lease, or maybe an amendment to their oil and gas lease, and anything to do with royalty, you need to be very, very careful. You also need to seek independent assistance for someone who's going to work for you, not the landman who's working for the company. And the reason why I say this is these decisions will affect, once this lease is developed, it will not only affect you, but it'll affect your children and most likely your grandchildren. It will affect this property for, my opinion, probably 30 to 100 years, maybe even longer. So if you have a bad royalty calculation provision, that provision can have an ultimate impact into the hundreds of thousands and into the millions of dollars, and sometimes over $10 million, depending upon the size of your property, gas production, and other variables. But one thing is for sure, royalties without deductions are going to be significantly higher than royalties that are being paid where the company is taking deductions. Or another way to put it, royalties based on a sale price at the pipeline interconnect point, being the point where the gas produced from your well is about to enter in or going into the interstate pipeline, a large pipeline system. And if it is sold there, and gas is not always sold there, but often it is. So if the gas is sold at the interstate pipeline interconnect point and it's sold to a third-party buyer, that's the price that you want. You do not want the price, if you have an option, if you can avoid it, you do not want the price of the gas valued at the wellhead. So gross royalty at the wellhead is something the company can say, oh yeah, we're going to give you gross royalty. Well, yeah, that's gross royalty, but that's at the wellhead. I want gross royalty at the pipeline interconnect point. That's where I want gross royalty. I do not want gross royalty at the wellhead. So landowners know, hey, I want gross royalties. And companies know that landowners know, hey, I want gross royalty. So they say, oh, hey, landowner, let me put my arm around your back, talk about partnership, and say, we're going to offer you gross royalty. And then let me write in loopholes to allow gross royalty to be your wellhead price, your wellhead royalty price. And that's not what you want. So company says, yeah, we gave them gross royalty, but we gave it to them at the wellhead, not at the sell point like the landowner thought. And that's where the burden falls on the landowner, the gas right owner, to understand if you're getting gross royalty, where is the point that you're getting royalty from? Is that at the wellhead, or is that downstream at a sale to a third-party buyer? That's where you want gross royalty. Companies say, landowners are all about no deductions, gross royalty. Well, let's write these leases in a way that we can allow the landowner to believe that they're getting gross royalty at a higher price, when actuality is they are going to get gross royalty, but it's at the wellhead, and that's what we as a company wanted all the time. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Join me right here every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. on this station, and give us a call. Learn more about what we do. Visit the websites, pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. Call the office, 570-307-0702. I represent Pennsylvania gas right owners, Pennsylvania land and property owners. I have not, do not, and will not represent oil and gas companies. So I want to be fair. We want to be fair to everybody. And in this case, we want to be fair to the gas companies, because there are a few companies that when they have language that says that there should be no deductions for gathering, transportation, separation, and so on until that gas is ready for sale or use, there are some companies that in their judgment state that, hey, gas isn't ready for sale or use until it hits that pipeline interconnect point. That's when gas is ready for sale or use. So if we sell it there for $3, then that's where we're going to calculate the royalty from. We're not going to subtract or deduct our pipeline fees from the wellhead to the sell point. We're going to go ahead and give you that sell point price. So there are some companies, and boy, there's not that many, that will give you that $3 sell price. But then there's this whole other group of companies that say, no, gas is ready for seller use or marketable at the wellhead, and therefore that's the price we're going to give you. And that's what we're going to base your royalty calculation on. So what happens is a company can represent to you, oh, hey, this means that there's going to be no deductions. Or the landman says, oh, yeah, this is what you want. It's a gross royalty, no deductions. So even if that was true, and that's how that company interpreted your lease, that does not mean that by the time you receive your royalties, that company may not have changed its position and interpret your lease, instead of being that you would receive a sell price or royalties calculated at the sell price at the pipeline interconnect point. They may switch and say, oh no, after looking at this issue, we've decided that gas is actually ready for seller use at the wellhead. And in fact, there's one company that had done that was actually paying royalties, wrote landowners letters saying, you know what, we've decided to change and we're going to start taking deductions under your ready for seller use or your market enhancement clause, because that's more along the lines of the industry standard, and we believe that we have the authority to operate in that fashion. So there is no guarantee, and I know this is bad news to a lot of people out there, but if you're currently not having deductions taken from your royalty statements, your company, under a lot of this language, could change positions. Or they could sell or assign your lease to another company. And they could sell all of your lease, meaning 100% all of it, or they could sell a portion of your lease. So if the company owns 100% of your lease, they could sell any number, pick a number, 50%, 40, 30, 80, 90, 10% to another company. And then you start receiving royalty checks from two different companies. Well, one company may interpret ready for seller use to not allow for deductions. Well, another company may say, no, we interpret the ready for seller use clause to allow you, or a market enhancement clause to only guarantee you the price at the wellhead. So that can be a problem. Or the company, again, could sell your entire lease to another company, and all of a sudden you will have full and total deductions taken, even though you thought or you were told you were not going to have any deductions taken. So again, the moral of this is, if you have a lease and you have a lease offer and you're considering it, that royalty language is extremely tricky. You should at least, and this is not to just garner business for me, you should have a review and consultation of your lease, of the royalty language. Discuss, can you improve this language? What can you do, and what is this going to mean to me? I do those all the time. I'd love to hear from you. I think it's a shame when anytime a landowner signs a lease and hasn't at least had a review and consultation to make sure that they understand what they at least need to, what is fundamental and basic that they must understand before they sign, to have a review and consultation. We do them all the time. If it's not with me, do it with somebody who knows what they're doing, who's working for you. But I do these all the time in person and by telephone. And they usually take it tops, usually 2 hours. Usually tops is 2 hours. You shouldn't take the time and investment of 2 hours before you go and sign a lease. And again, all of these reviews, we get outstanding feedback because I educate and inform the landowner to get you what you need to know to allow you to make the right decision and to make sure that somebody who's out for you is explaining, who's working for you is explaining what you need to know about this language. Not just what the company wants you to know, what you need to know. Okay, we're coming to the end here of this segment. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Give us a call. Reviews, consultations, amendments, modifications, breaches, you name it. Give us a call, 570-307-0702, 570-307-0702. I'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can join me right here in this station each week at this time, and make sure you do. Been doing a radio show since 2010, so make sure you tune in. I'm going to jump into it here. The point is, actually, let me say this. The point is that I hope it comes across that this royalty calculation language is very complicated. And I know it's hard to follow sometimes, so that's why you can always go back to pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. Go back and listen to the show, re-listen to some of the older shows, or if you've never heard them, go back and listen to them, because use them as an educational resource. That's our service to you in general. The show's not for specific legal advice, but it's an educational resource, and we want you to use it as I want you to use pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com as a resource, a learning resource. Not specific legal advice, but a resource. And then if you're interested in representation, we'd love to hear from you. You can call us 570-307-0702 or call someone who knows what they're doing. But understand that this is complicated stuff, and we shouldn't be relying on the adversary in this process, the gas company, the pipeline company, to advise us as to what we should do. Because their whole goal is to make money, not to give their money to you unless they have to. So we need to make sure that we are being represented from the landowner's side by somebody who's fighting and working for you to get the best deal, to maximize money, to protect your property, and to maximize these benefits, not just for today, but for generations and decades into the future. So we need to do that. And it's the same thing. I talk about these reviews and consultations. It's the same thing with pipelines. It's the same thing with all of these agreements. But if you have a pipeline agreement and you're just signing it, I will tell you this. I wholeheartedly believe, with all the confidence I have, that you're making a big mistake. And look, if you say, I don't want to listen, I don't like that guy, I don't want to listen, well, call someone else. But do not just sign these agreements. Companies know that people will just sign agreements. So what do? They put really bad agreements in front of you for you to sign. And you typically, and again, if you can't increase the money, I don't know that we've never been able to increase the terms to make the agreement better for you. But boy, if you're just signing, man, do I think you're making a mistake, because I talk a lot. I think I talked earlier today and other times. Client calls within 2 weeks, the increase of compensation was $100,000, or they could have just signed. So you owe it to yourself, in my opinion, to have a review and consultation to make sure that you're not missing something. Look around. I mean, probably every Pennsylvania property owner in gas areas knows somebody if not a family member, unfortunately many times themselves, where they signed an agreement and they could have done a lot better. And had they had assistance or help, they would have done a lot better. So that's what we want to do. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure that we're helping everyone we can to do better, to get better agreements, to put money in your pockets, not the gas or pipeline companies. And if you have an issue or you have a problem with the gas or pipeline company, do not just sit on that issue. You have to act. I see this. I've had several times in the last year or two where landowners call, but they call too late, that the statute of limitations has ran, that there's nothing we can do about it, or that they signed other agreements that they shouldn't have signed. But if they would have called me and we would have talked about it, again, review and consultation, we could have taken care of that. Now, I just want to read another part from this lease. And this is a lease offered in Potter County, Pennsylvania right now. But this language, boy, this alone should frighten you. But landowners, unfortunately, I don't think are focusing on the right items or terms, because that's not the topics and that's not the language that the landman is pointing out. The landman is pointing out bonus, 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 money, 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 royalties. You're going to be rich. You're going to be rich. Well, how about this language? In the royalty payment section, it talks about, again, in this case, 12.5% of the proceeds realized, but goes on to state that, I talk about affiliated sales. I talk about how these royalties are going to be calculated, how the gas is going to be sold. Listen to this language. It says that the lessee gas company shall sell the production of the well on such terms and conditions as the company in its sole discretion may deem appropriate. So they can sell your gas in any way they deem appropriate, which could be selling it to themselves at a discounted rate and paying you royalties on a discounted rate. And you say, wait a second, company, you can't do that. And they say, well, no, landowner, gas right owner, look at this sentence. Here, I'll read it to you. Lessee company shall sell the production of the well on such terms and conditions as the company, the lessee, as the company, in its sole discretion, may deem appropriate. Meaning, what are you going to say about it? You don't have any input. The company gets to sell it however they want, in their sole discretion. So if every other company is selling it at the interstate point and giving you that price, this company under this lease, under that sentence, can say, no, I'm not doing that. In my sole discretion, I'm going to sell it to an affiliated company at a discounted rate, and I'm going to tell you that, but I'm going to sell it to myself at a discounted rate and pay royalties in that fashion. Be careful of that. Be careful of that. Okay, we've essentially reached the end here. I just want to remind everybody, it sounds at times, maybe it's a broken record, but boy, if you were sitting in my chair, I do these reviews and consultations, and I do them by telephone. We have call-in numbers. We call in. We can do them with multiple owners of the property, and they have worked extremely well for the landowner, whether it be a pipeline agreement, a gas lease, an amendment and modification. You're doing yourself a disservice if you're not having this reviewed, and we do it. I do it all the time, and it's me. It's not an associate. I talk to the landowner in person or by telephone, and we go over what you need to know. And I answer all your questions you have, and we make sure that you're fully informed. And at minimum, you should be using that service with me or somebody else that knows what they're doing. So 570, call us 570-307-0702 and learn more. And remember, here at the Clark Law Firm, I, Doug Clark, have not, will not, and do not represent gas or pipeline companies. And never forget that the landman works for the gas or pipeline company and not you, the landowner. Have a great, great week, everyone.